How's it going, gamers? As always, I'm Burning DM with Angel Soft Gaming. So, there actually, as always, happens to be a new event coming up called Face Off. Hasn't been done yet, and we don't know much about it other than the event prizes, so I thought I would take an opportunity to do a two-part video on a couple different things. Now, you might hear a little thunder and a little lightning, as this mic is a bit sensitive, but there happens to be a storm going on right now. And I don't mean in the literal game, I mean in the literal world. So, it's whatevs. Alright, gamers. So, the first part is about the event itself. We actually have the opportunity to acquire the Ragnorak this time around, which gives us the impression that we'll be going up against an entirely new type of flagship from the Vega themselves. But, I mean, honestly, the Valhalla was pretty good. I didn't really find it to be very useful. I thought it was more of a mid-tier type game, or ship, so to speak. I didn't really find it very useful. There were plenty that did, and, of course, I've had my fair share of conversations/arguments with said people. But, to each their own, it's like I always try to say. Now, the Ragnorak seems like it's going to be a little bit more my style. It looks a little bit bigger, a little bit tougher, and I've always said that in a fight head-to-head, the Ragnorak would win if it had adequate equipment and weaponry. Now, as far as the new, we actually have a new drone coming in as well. It's going to be a projectile-based drone, and assuming that based on the fact that the little energy-based drones have a shorter range, we're going to assume that the new projectile-based drones have an even larger range. So that'll be pretty interesting. There's also going to be a new energy-based weaponry. It looks like base type, honestly. We have no proof of it. We don't really know what it's going to be used for yet until we actually see, you know, the little intro to the event video. So we're not entirely going to know what it's going to be about. But hey, a new weapon is a new weapon, you know what I'm talking about. The event looks like it's going to be pretty interesting, should be. Also, Lars, this guy up here in the top left, you know, the black market guy, which I always say, never has anything worth buying. He had one thing worth buying when he came last, which was the Revelation Cruiser. This, let's see, by the way, my fleets are completely fucked up right now. Long story behind that. And these guys right here, the Revelation Cruisers, he had one of those for sale last time. I bought one, but it's like it used up all of my blood amber just to buy one. So it's like, what's the point of having one of them? I'm like, it's great and everything, but I need a whole fleet of the damn thing. So one, shouldn't. There's this new guy, I can't pronounce his name, never can, never will, probably eventually will, but anyway, my point being, he's gonna be like, you can choose between Lars and this new guy. Honestly, I'm going with the fucking new guy. I know a lot of people are, but it's like, Lars, what has he really done for us? And let's be honest, I don't really want to betray him and throw him to the Vega Corporation, which, I mean, honestly, why would we? We're rebels. I mean, come on. Anything, an advantage against them would be good for us. My point being is, this new guy looks pretty badass. He looks evil. Like, he looks like someone that would betray us, but I kind of hoping that he gives us weaponry and tech that would be well worth the risk of trusting him. So I'm going to go with him. It looks like it would be interesting, and supposedly at the end of the event, there's going to be, like, whoever, in the Vega Corporation world, Vega conflict world, like, whichever side gets the most blood amber total, like if 50% of or 55% of the players in Vega conflict go to Lars, there's going to be one story, and then 55% go to the other guy, we have a different story. So we're going to see which do the community prefer, Lars or the new guy. Like I said, I'm going to the new guy simply because he looks cooler, and I mean, I'm not really that big of a fan of Lars anyways. Alright, gamers, so now for the second part of this. So, since Vega conflict has changed massively over the past several months, it goes to say that a new video for any kind of suggestions towards the younger or newer players hasn't really been made lately. There have been the videos made detailing tutorials of how to start the game, but when you get up into the middle and higher levels fighting players, you don't really have any. You can talk with players and get advice from them, but you really don't have too much to go on as far as actual experience. You have to just learn it for yourselves. So what I wanted to get into today is more or less of what you can do while playing the game to help your base survive. Now, my base might look like a bit of a mess right now because I've got it just looks so chaotic. It doesn't really have a formation. It's not square, it's not circle. It's a bit oblong in some places and things like that, but it does have a purpose. I've spent the past week fighting the Demon Alliance, and well, as you can see, my fleets have taken a beating, but it was well worth it. I definitely came out on top in the end. Although, there were a bit of a comms wars with those guys. I'm not one for comm warring, but man, they love to talk every time I hit their bases. It was pretty hilarious. So my bases actually held up pretty good simply for the fact of where my mines are placed. Sometimes people like to find that one little opening gap, perhaps over to the left side or even over to the bottom right of my base. They'll find that one little spot to get in where, you know, the ranges for your torrents and whatnot just can't quite reach, which I like to say that my base does pretty well against faring against people like that. I like to have my projectiles to the farther side, just in case someone tries to use the destroyer decoy strategy, which is basically this fleet right here. You take two really strong, as you can see, they have no weapons, no abilities. They're just full on beast mode ships that can take damage and keep on trucking. This one, of course, have a little bit more for strafing and whatnot, simply because I find it to be a little bit easier in combat. But then they use destroyers to basically go in and just wreak havoc. Now, admittedly, I'm still working on building more Lance destroyers. I'm building one now, simply because they are more powerful. They were an event ship that we acquired like 4 or 5 events ago, and they've definitely been well worth it. Although, I have found that having them, like, some players will just have like the tier 3 for what the siege drivers, the tier 3s, but I've actually found siege driver tier 2 with a little bit more armor and shields helps out massively. Now, on over to the base defense again. I find that having my fleet bay and my ship factory with no armor is actually the best thing to do, because the repair time, if any of you know, when your fleet bay is destroyed, you can't launch fleets. And there's actually a little bit of a glitch in the game where sometimes, even if you have a fleet launched and your fleet bay has been destroyed, that fleet that is already launched can't attack outside of your fleet, outside of your base. It's a little, like I said, it's a little bit of a bug, a little glitch that's been reported, but without proof, it's really hard for them to pinpoint exactly what's going on. So just be mindful. And if your fleet bay doesn't have any armor on, if it's got shields, it's really quick and easy to repair. But if you have at least shields, armor is like the only thing that will really cost you for repairs. So I just like to have shields on these two right here, the fleet bay and the ship factory. Now, as far as the others, I actually do like to beat them up a little bit, but as you can see, I have no miners. Now, anyone who has a lot of metals, I don't have a lot of metals, but for those who do, you know that when you are attacked, a lot of people have come and started to use a new type of strategy, which is just the Ragnorak. They'll basically rim. It's wordplay, but it's been coined as a rim job for those of you who've had this happen to you, where they'll literally just go around your base with the Ragnorak, allowing the little drones to pick off your mines, and it'll get you just down to 75%, which is pretty annoying. But there's actually an additive coming into the game pretty soon that will allow you to basically, how can I put it? It's going to add, from my understanding, it's going to add drones to the fleet bay. Now, why to the fleet bay? I don't really understand that. It doesn't make much sense to me, honestly. But I would have added it probably to the weapons factory or whatever, the arms lab. I would have added to that. Now, here's another thing. As you can see, they've added this little indicator to the bases of things that have objectives that you can, like, each one of these I can have things inside that I can research. This can be upgraded, things like that. I can build new things, but the thing is, you don't really need to. My base is level 43. It's pretty high up there. It's not the highest by any means necessary, but it's high enough that I've already acquired everything I really need. For example, if I go to my ship lab, it says I have some things to research. All the ships are done. All of the top tier armor is done for ships. And for my base, all of the top tier armor for my base. Now, this right here, I don't need it. I'm never going to use that, so I didn't waste the resources to build it. As well as, now, cargo, definitely worth having. Definitely recommend getting. Now, that applies to each and every one of them. You do not have to research everything. For example, here's the biggest thing in the entire game. The hell uses sweeper launchers? These damn things are completely useless. Do not waste your resources researching them. What are you going to use them for? Their objective is simply to spread out your explosive based weaponry. Now that sounds good, but here's the problem. When you spread them out, chances are if you're attacking a target, it's going to miss. Most of your shots are going to end up missing. So it increases the spread by 70%. So if you've already got a pretty wide spread, which most of them do, that's going to literally create a shotgun effect, and anyone who uses a shotgun knows that the wider the spread, the less damage you're going to cause. It's not even worth it. Not to mention it's going to take 80 million helium and 20 million antimatter to research. Another thing that some people don't really use, but actually find that's worth researching, is the ion modulator. Now, our Valhallas actually have a built-in ion modulator field. It's kind of like their boost. But I do find the ion modulators can be useful. I mean, they increase your shield damage by 60% with only a 15% drop to actual health damage. That's a massive difference. I mean, just imagine if you have a particular fairly weak fleet, that 60% damage increase is massive when most people don't focus as much as they should on actual health, shield, on armor, when most people focus on shields because you can get more out of them. That's why most people prefer, when they're using the long range type shield weapons, they basically go with the phased. And for me, I use my wave drivers. They help me out so I can actually have speed and I guess you would say shield penetration. Now here's another thing. As far as formation, always make sure that someone cannot basically outrange your weapons. Let me go into my arms wrap real quick and give you an example. Now here are pretty much all of the weapons, or the majority, I shouldn't say all, but the majority of the weapons you can acquire through different events, blueprints and whatnot. Well, yeah, that's actually just a few of them. I have more of them in the blueprints and whatnot. Now here's the thing. Here's another one that I find is completely useless now. The Hex missiles. They were very useful at a time, but the problem is they can be outranged by destroyers. I've seen so many fleets just get completely annihilated because they use the Hex missiles, and people just, they can like be outranged by like 50 meters. So it's like almost insurmountable how low this is. So they're practically useless. Now the plasma torpedoes, they would seem fairly useful. Let's switch over to base. So look at these. They look badass. 166 damage. You'd be like, yes, I gotta use those, because the kinetic driver turrets, they do 113, which is a lot less, but you have a better chance of actually surviving using them. Now these guys right here, 141 damage looks good, but like I said, because there's that, in my understanding of how this game works, that's if every one of the rockets that come out hit it. Chances are you're only going to get one, maybe two rockets out of the 6 or 7 that come out to actually hit, because they spread out so much. And they have an 60 degree spread, and which also makes you think, why would you put on the spread ability, because that would actually turn it from 60 to about, I think, 110 degree spread, which is like massive. So I find that the kinetic driver, if you use it specifically on your the bridge, is far more useful. Here's an example real quick. For mine, what I like to do is I have the two abilities, shielding. I like to use the energy based shielding simply because of the creeper mines, you know, the ones where they kind of like, they go really slow but they do a lot of damage. I find that these, I get hit more than that than any rushers, so I find it's more useful for me. Now for me, the main reason I don't use this on my base, the what is it, this thing right here, the AP driver. The AP driver has an ability where it actually go through fleets. I thought that would be really useful, which is why I have it on a few of my torrents, but it's not as useful as I would have expected. I get more use out of these guys simply because they do a little bit more damage, and I think they're a little bit faster as well. But now, for close range, if you're dealing with close range, the best thing to do is mainly have something that can affect a better variety. For example, when you're going in for close range battles, or if someone's coming in on you in close range battles, now the thermal rays are actually pretty useful for if someone's trying to get real close and personal, but it's not good to have on your bridge. The reason is because they're such low range, you want to have them farther out. They have 4,500 meters of range, but if you have them right in the center, you're severely limiting that range. Honestly, I still prefer to have a long-range projectile because it has a minimum range of about 4,000 meters. 4,000 meters is going to stretch right about to the edge of your base. Check this out. Someone has to be right on my base before they even get to that minimum range. See what I mean? Sure, it's far more useful. Now, when I see lower level players, I often see them have their entire base spread out. That's not bad, but it makes it easier for people to use guerrilla tactics to come in, hit your bases from the sides and things like that. Alright gamers, this video is coming to an end. Now I have one final tip. Anyone who has hit level 34, I strongly recommend that you consider your next move wisely. That being because once you hit 35, you can be attacked by any level player, no matter how level. You could be attacked by level 56 for all the game cares, which I find to be completely fair. I think once you hit a certain level, it should be fair game. I think that even in, the actual sector, it should be fair game for whoever feels like attacking you. I mean, I don't think that there should be a level restriction within the actual game itself, or I guess you'd say the sector itself. I feel like a planet should have a restriction and whatnot, but that's neither here nor there. Alright gamers, if you need any more advice, I'm planning on doing a little bit of a ship explanation, a little bit more details about the ships themselves, but I'll need to repair a few of them. Fighting Demon actually took their toll, but like I said, for me, it was well worth it. The experience, the medals and whatnot, turned out pretty good. Alright gamers, the event's going to be coming out, I want to say next week on the 16th. Oh, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the 16th. So it's going to be, 3-4 days. It's going to be a lot of fun. I know Highguard's already prepping for it, and we're going to be ready to go. Anyways, till next time gamers, burning out.